On this episode, Ashley and I sit down and talk about curses, where they come from, the history of them, and some of the most famous curses throughout history. We share our own beliefs about curses and some of our own experiences with them as well. So sit back and venture into the dark world of curses. And welcome to the Spooky Door. On today's episode, it's all about curses.
Yeah.
Where they come from, what they are, the history of them, and we're going to dive in.
And why you shouldn't mess with them.
And why you shouldn't mess with them. And we're going to dive into some things that are famously known to be cursed and some things that are probably not so famous. So we're going to go all over the place today.
And when we get done, there's still going to be people who are going to want to mess with them.
Probably that. And also people are going to be mad at us because we forgot to mention something that's famous or whatever. So
I feel like that comes with the territory. Somebody's always mad at you for something.
Right. So to start off, what is a curse?
So a curse is basically when cursed energy, so the whole premises of that is there's different types of energy. Everything has energy. So when cursed energy leaks from a human as the result of pent up emotion, like anger, sadness, I feel like you see the best example you can see of this is in a lot of Korean and Japanese horror films. That's usually the premises for those is some type of pin-up cursed energy. But the energy builds up and it's kind of like a sediment. Mm-hmm. And until the actual energy is so built up that it takes a form, thus creating negative emotion that flows out of the human and it is collected into a place or object as a curse. To elaborate on that too, sometimes that can happen on accident. Which you hear, a lot of stories of something being cursed on accident. But then there's also situations where people create curses on purpose.
Right. What do you think about this is like an interesting conversation, topic for this. What do you think about something like versus bad luck? Like, what's your take on that? Do you think something like there's certain sports teams are
I don't believe in luck.
That stuff. You don't believe in luck?
I don't believe in luck.
I
don't believe in bad luck or good luck. Luck is not something from and I'm basing that on my personal life experiences. I don't believe in luck. I believe I'm a very science-based person.
Okay.
Very into scientific logic. So luck to me, there's no scientific basis for it. So
okay, let me ask you this.
I don't believe in it.
So what do you think about certain sports teams, I think the Cleveland Indians are supposed to cursed or something like that because they lost a player or some shit like that.
I think it's a load of shit.
You think it's a load of shit?
I think it's just people making excuses. Because you lost your best player and now you can't win because that person was clearly carrying your team. And I think maybe we need to do some self-examination at that point. And we're just that's what they called shifting the blame.
Ah.
That's the term for it.
Okay. This is an interesting way of starting off.
Yes. Which is weird too. A lot of people are surprised to hear me say stuff like that because being pagan and having the beliefs that I believe, they're like, wait, you don't believe in luck and you're just very more so on the side of science when it comes to things. I'm like, yes. But there is scientific basis to paganism, which is why I believe it. Totally off subject, but back onto the curse subject.
All right, curses. Top of your head, what's the most famous curse you can think of?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're going to put me on the spot.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh, I don't think I could pick one.
Really? Of all the ones out there?
No. Because there's so many different types. We've talked about, for example, we've talked about haunted dolls before. Right. That can be a curse situation. We've talked about haunted house. A lot of times haunted houses can be because of a curse situation. There's a lot of, again, referring to Korean and Japanese folklore as far as the horror films you see is based on their beliefs. And there's a lot of good true curses if you research that you can find out of that too. And I think those are part of the most interesting, but I don't think
I'm
there's
surprised.
Too many of a variety.
I'm surprised you didn't go for the very first obvious one, which would be Egyptian. I mean, that was used to to prevent grave robbing and everything else. And
yeah,
that's why they put curses on their graves and their.
That I do. That's okay. That's something I do. believe to a degree. Like,
let's-
some of the stuff they blame on the curse, I'm like,
Right.
okay, that clearly wasn't. But there is stuff like, obviously, doing the research, a good example of that. And I'm not going to get into the details because there's so much detail
we can
behind it.
talk
But
about
the King Tut.
That's what I said. We're talking about King Tut.
Some of the stuff that happened is very obviously not related to the curse. But I do
Right.
believe that those, those burials that were not intended to be touched. And we, of course, are humans, and we think we have to know anything, and think we have to know everything about everything, even though that's not going to change the outcome of our lives. But we do. Like, so we'll go dig dead people up.
Right.
And
Well, supposedly,
I wouldn't want to be messed with if I was
No.
buried. I wouldn't want somebody to touch me.
no,
I'm going to curse myself when
curse your own grave.
I'm cursing my own grave.
right.
And if I'm not going to have a grave, though, I'm going to get cremated, but I'm still going to curse my ashes.
All right.
If anybody messes with them.
So with the King Tut, supposedly most people involved in the discovery of King Tut died of mysterious circumstances.
Yes.
That's the rumor, and that's the story. Kind of similar to Otzi the Iceman, who was found in the Swedish Alps, who died, I think, 15,000 years ago or some crazy stuff like that. And they found him in the Alps, and there was like 8 of the original people who were part of his discovery or part of his life, then like being found, have all died. Either from all kinds of weird things. There's one guy, one of the main guys, the guy who actually found him, he died in an avalanche with a group of people, and he was the only one of his group that died. Yeah.
See, that I can be like, okay, that's
a
curse.
Yeah, there was like 9 people involved, 8 or 9 people involved in his discovery, and all of them died. But at the same time, there's also been thousands of researchers and scientists who have looked at this body and done everything else. So it's like, well, why did these people get affected but not these other ones? So that's where like the superstition comes from. Even when the scientist himself, they asked him about their curse, and he thought it was a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's important to, in those situations, to look at all of the facts and be like, okay, is this explainable scientifically? If it's not, then
curses in general are not 100% science. I wouldn't say they're scientific.
Well, that's the point I'm
superstition
making.
That's
the point I'm making. If I can sit down, if somebody's like, "Oh, that's a curse," but I can sit down and be like, "Oh, well, there's actually a chain of events that led up to that. It's not a curse. That just is misfortune.
Well,
sorry about
Now, speaking of graves, like Shakespeare cursed his own grave. At the time he was buried.
Good for him.
Yeah, he was supposedly buried around the time he was buried that grave robbing was a big thing. So he was afraid of that. So he actually put a curse on his grave. And I forget when they were going to move the grave because they were doing a bunch of construction. And they couldn't find anyone to move it.
Well, that's like...
Because they were afraid, everyone was afraid of touching it.
That's like when we went to Cleveland in that first gravesite, that cemetery that we went to, where they had moved stuff around.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Like, that was definitely... there's a really good movie, totally off subject, about grave robbing.
That is way off subject.
Well, it's just I just thought of it and I brought it up because it's not well known, but it's called I Sell the Dead. If you've not seen it, I recommend it.
All right.
Back onto the subject of curses.
All right. So we've been talking about graves and places.
Anywhere you go in Egypt where somebody is buried,
Probably.
most likely cursed. I think another thing that's important to look at is haunted houses.
Right.
Because that can be because
I mean, if something's haunted, I mean,
it could
be a curse.
It could be a curse.
It's kind of one and the same. I mean, you look at Annabelle the doll. Would that be considered something that's cursed or something that's just possessed? Or, I mean, it's kind of...
both.
Yeah, right?
Cursed and... because that's the thing. I feel like cursing can go with, like, hand-to-hand with something else.
Right. There's also the famous movie Thinner, Stephen King's Thinner, which is a book, obviously, and then the movie, but about the guy who was rude to a gypsy woman and she cursed him. So he, no matter what he did, he was constantly, like, losing weight and becoming, like, a skeleton.
Yeah.
So there's the romanticized movie versions and story versions of curses as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the case too, you can also look at like the original zombies, from like voodoo. I mean, that's like basically you're cursing somebody to kind of have your control over them.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful though when you talk about voodoo too, because there's always the assumption that like.
I'm talking directly about the Hollywood.
Right.
Hollywood
I'm
vibes,
just yes.
like the
that's what
original
I wanted
stories.
to clarify because a lot of people.
But there is stories involving.
Don't realize that for the most part, voodoo is not.
Well, yeah.
A negative thing.
Right.
Just want to clear the air there.
But I'm talking about strictly the stories involving people being turned into like a mindless zombie, which even in voodoo there is that.
The Hope Diamond curse. The Hope Diamond is it's a necklace for those of you who aren't familiar with it. My best way to describe it, if you don't know what it looks like the necklace from the Titanic movie.
Well,
except it's in the shape of a circle instead of heart.
They based it off the Hope Diamond.
But anybody who owns it dies a slow and painful death.
Really?
Because it was stolen. It's a stolen object, which is how it got cursed. It was stolen. They say, legend has it, the original thief that stole it from India was torn to pieces by dogs. And everyone else who's been involved with it has met horrible deaths. It's either missing or it's currently at the Smithsonian.
I thought it was at the Smithsonian.
I think it is, but I think prior to that it was missing. And then they found it. But I guess if there's something that keeps going missing and you don't want it to go missing again, the best place to put it is probably the Smithsonian Museum.
Right.
Nothing is getting out of there. Nothing.
And also no one's going to mess with it either. And there's this whole list of stuff. There's all these conspiracies about like stuff that's in the Vatican Museum as well, or not museum, the Vatican Vault. And they have all these like cursed objects and all these like horrific things.
Oh
from, like,
yeah,
the
I've heard about
history
that.
and
I feel like
every book that's like all this crazy stuff that's been written and stuff like that is in the Vatican Vault supposedly. Have you ever heard of the woman from Lim?
No.
Have you heard of this? Okay, this is one of the weirdest ones. When I was doing a bunch of research on this stuff, Women from Lim is a strange-looking statue dated back from 3500 BCE, carved from pure limestone. It was found in a dig site in Lim, Cyprus in 1878. So this thing is...
This thing?
It's a goddess statue. That's what it is.
That's probably why it's cursed.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Sometime I have a little bit of information on it. So everyone who's ever owned this thing died, and then like their entire family died with them. So it's not just like it killed the owner;
right.
It killed like everybody. So now it's in a glass case and in a museum, and then the curator who originally accepted the statue died as well. So this is listed as one of the most cursed objects in history. And no one even really knows where it came from or where like the history of it is. Everyone just knows it's some kind of goddess statue, but that's about it. It's a weirdly weird looking statue as well. I'm pulling it up.
While you pull it up, I remembered another curse that I completely forgot about. That is probably it's easy. I feel like a lot of people know about it, but it's easily forgotten. But I feel like it's just a very interesting little piece of knowledge. Is the curse of Macbeth. Do you know this curse?
Well, I know about the play is supposedly cursed.
Yes. So if you're in the play, or even if you're not in the play, if you're talking to somebody who is, it is bad luck to wish any actor in the play good luck. Which is why you're supposed to tell them to break a leg.
Right.
That's where that saying comes from. Anybody that's been told good luck has had a tragedy befallen upon them. So I just think that's a very little interesting thing of I feel like a good example though of people saying, oh, this is a curse and it's probably not is the the crying boy paintings.
Well, there's a whole list of paintings that are supposedly cursed.
Right, but I'm talking about the ones with the little boys that cry in it. So there's the belief that if you hang it in your house is going to burn down. However, in the time period that this all happened, that was a popular fad to have a crying. So if so many people own them, the logic is if so many people own these, of course you would get a higher percentage of houses.
Right. Well, also,
But then there was also a firefighter, I guess, who was
Yeah.
like admitted that like he wasn't going to take sides. He was like, yes, I've had a lot of houses have them in it, but that doesn't.
there's a lot of famous cursed paintings. But on that with the houses, that's why mirrors, because mirrors used to be made out of silver, so they're very expensive. And that's where the whole thing of 7 years bad luck was, to prevent people from breaking them because they cost so much money. That's why the 7 years bad luck curse is
Which
from
I've
mirrors.
never believed in that.
I never believed in it. Well, especially now.
That and
because mirrors now are made out, they're made of, they're not made out of silver.
That and, okay, so that and the don't walk under a ladder, don't put an umbrella up in a building, I think, are stupid ones.
I never understood the ladder one. Black cats, definitely I don't believe in that.
No, black cats are not bad luck.
But as far as paintings go, there's several famous haunted painting or cursed paintings, not haunted paintings, depending on how you look at it. Okay, there's also the painting "The Hands Resist Him," which is the painting we have up right now, which is regarded as one of the most creepiest paintings ever made.
It's pretty creepy, yeah.
This one is the painting has been blamed for the death of the gallery owner and the first critic to ever review the painting. This is the one that has a little boy. Supposedly there's even been stories about like gunshots being heard, voices being heard,
have questions
children.
about what was going through his head when he painted this.
This thing's terrifying. So there's like hands, there's a doll, and then like the little boy's face is just staring dead
so
at you.
happy.
Yeah, and he's like staring dead at you too. And then there's like the little weird moon. Like this is, yeah, it's really creepy. I don't know why this was even made or what was going on, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, what was going through his head? I feel like maybe he experienced some trauma.
So there's also another famous painting. It's called "The Anguished Man."
Oh, I know this one.
And this one, there's actually even videos on YouTube of people, the guy who owns it, like having it in his house. Reportedly, odd things happen when this painting is from things being moved around, doors slamming, doors opening, people hearing screaming in the middle of the night. And reportedly, the artist is unknown and is supposedly painted with human blood mixed into the oils as well. So this is another famous cursed painting.
But have you found any proof of that? Like, have you researched whether? Because I feel like I vaguely recall they ran tests on in the paint.
Well, there's a video. Let's book it up.
Yeah, I vaguely recall hearing that they read tests on the paint. I don't remember if they found it to be actually there or not.
So this is the video of the Anguished Man on YouTube, and he even has his own YouTube page. Again, what's with these like things having more social media than us?
I don't know. Apparently, we just need to curse ourselves.
Hello, I've just set the picture of the Anguished Man back up in the top bedroom. I'm going to record it for approximately 8 hours and see if we can catch some of the activity on video. I'll just give you a quick look at the painting first, close up.
That thing is so creepy looking. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was too.
As you can see, some of the paint is starting to crack. It's still on its original wooden frame.
Why are you even touching it?
Well, he owns it.
Someone want to touch it.
Canvas seems to be coming off at the bottom there and here. But apart from that, I think it's in reasonable condition considering its age. So I'm going to set up the recording equipment and leave it for approximately 8 hours, and I'll leave the light on.
Left the camera recording for a total of approximately 8 hours over 3 consecutive nights. This is what I recorded. 13:02:11, approximately 2:30 a.m. A slight scraping sound can be heard. Once again. All right, approximately at 4 a.m. The door suddenly swings shut. There are no drafts in the room, and everyone was asleep. Once again. What do you think?
I'm not convinced, honestly. I haven't seen anything happen or heard anything that...
I mean, it sounded like it was like scratching on the painting. The door shuts and then it like bounces back open. Okay, so this is a couple nights later, approximately 1:30 a.m. A loud bang can be heard. Once again, everyone is asleep. It sounds like something is falling. It sounds like someone dropping something off camera.
Right.
Once again.
It literally sounds like somebody standing right behind the camera dropping something. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like to me. Shortly after I moved the painting back upstairs, my wife felt something stroke her hair in the bathroom. I'll stop the camera again shortly, but in the meantime, the painting is being locked away in the cellar.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but that didn't convince me.
Right. So...
I'm disappointed.
I am too. I've watched parts of that video. I haven't watched all. So that was the first time I watched all of it.
The painting, he mixed his blood in.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly after he finished the painting, he killed himself.
The guy who made that?
The guy who made the painting, who painted the painting.
But
so it makes you wonder, did he just coincidentally kill himself afterwards? Or was like that the plan? Like, I'm so anguished and upset that I'm going to mix my blood into this painting and then I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to curse this painting because I hate the world so much and I just want everybody else to be unhappy if they see this painting.
But the painting is done by unknown.
That's what it says, though. It says
so like, if they don't know who painted it, how they know the guy
That's
killed
the
himself?
rumor. That's the rumor that he killed himself after whoever he is. He killed himself and... That's why it's cursed. Because and that's where the name Anguished Man came from, because he killed himself after he painted it.
I'm not doubting it, but I'm also just kind of finding it funny because it's listed as unknown.
Right. No, like I'm just saying.
It's
Those
like,
are the facts. They're not facts. I guess they're not facts if they're not proven, but
it's like
that's what they say.
Okay, we'll the big one. We'll go ahead and talk about it. The dybbuk box.
The dybbuk box.
The dybbuk box.
I would explain this because not a lot of people are familiar with what that is.
Okay. If you don't know what the dybbuk box is, it has a very long, kind of jumbled history. In short, supposedly it was made during or after the Holocaust, and it seals. There's supposedly 10 of these in existence, and they seal off all the evilness of the 20th century, mainly revolving around World War II. And supposedly if you open them all up, there's 10 of these. 2 are known to exist that or 2 are known where the locations are. There's 8 that are missing. Open them all up and it releases all the evil back into the world. That's the story of these things. So one of them popped up on eBay. A guy bought it and immediately noticing a foul smell and noticing strange sounds and like supposedly illness follows wherever this thing goes.
Also, for clarification, there's the ones you're talking about, and then there's modern day ones that have. So there's a difference.
Well, the dybbuk box is talking about the Jewish,
right?
This is the
which
Jewish
is the
lore.
original. Just for clarification. This is the original story. This is the origins of where they came from. So if you get on eBay or something and you look one up, it's not going to be one of these. It's going to be someone. It might be legit. It might not. It might not be. Right, Samantha?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. We have a supposedly cursed doll. That's not.
Right, Samantha?
You know, it's really funny. As soon as we put that thing up there, it has not moved once. I'm kind of disappointed.
I'm not saying she's not cursed because it could have been environment.
I mean,
It could have been environment.
It could have been. I'm always
she just might not have been happy where she was.
Maybe
she really loves us.
Maybe because every time I come in here, I'm always expecting the room to be trashed, and it's like she never moves. I'm like, oh darn.
She doesn't want to move.
Maybe. Well, maybe Hello Kitty is just keeping her company up there.
She just needed some friends.
Maybe. So the haunted dybbuk box is the famous one is a Jewish wine cabinet. It's from Jewish folklore referencing an evil spirit believed to be the dislocated soul of a dead person that possesses the living. This particular one was purchased by Jason Hexton in 2004. He said, the day it arrived, I put my hands on it, and it almost feels like the thing collapses into a liquid state. He further stated, I feel like a knife is coming into my gut. I'm paralyzed in pain, and when I go to bed, I have terrible dreams of a hag that seems to come with the box. Previous dybbuk owners have experienced a horrid foul-smelling aroma, shadow people, illness, delusions, hives, welts, flares and emotions, and of course nightmares. Hexen stated that he had a string of what he would call bad luck along with the strange illness. So what's interesting about this one, this guy wrote a book on it, and I know there's a lot of famous stories about all this stuff. I think it's fake because nothing is traced back with this box until this guy has it and he wrote a book about it. Now, what's interesting, though, is Zach Baggins from the...
Are you thinking about Lord of the Rings? You're over there saying Baggins?
It's Zach
Okay,
Baggins.
Bilbo.
Right? Zach Baggins, the guy who does Ghost Explorers or whatever.
I don't know his name, and I know his name is Zach. I do not know his last name. I have very little information on him, and
everyone who's listening or watching, you're probably like, "Oh, you dumbass, don't know." Okay, it's
I intentionally don't.
Not
know
really
him.
a big fan.
I'm not
of
a
his.
fan of that show.
Okay, so
no offense, I just am not. Oh wait, no, he's right here. Baggans, because I was looking at something else. Yes. I'm sorry, I was looking at something else,
Zach Baggins.
Yeah, I apparently just scrolled right past.
He does
him.
sound like a reject Lord of the Rings character. Las Vegas. He has a haunted museum in Las Vegas, and that's where the box now resides.
The Lost Hobbit.
I don't think there's.
I'm so funny.
No, I'm just thinking Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell as a hobbit.
It's like him as a hobbit, and that's why he's the Lost Hobbit, because no one wants to be his friend.
So the box now resides in his haunted museum in Las Vegas. However, shortly after its arrival, holes began appearing into the walls. And then also anyone who's around it notices a foul smell or starts feeling ill. And apparently a cursed Post Malone.
I was just gonna say. I saw that Post Malone apparently was cursed
because he went there and they did a whole thing on like a television special, and he was there.
I wish we could get Post Malone on our podcast and talk about us.
So okay, Zach touched the box, and then Malone touched his shoulder, which is involved. Okay, and then. Which is apparently all the curse needed. 2 months after filming the show, Malone was involved in an emergency landing after his private jet's wheels were damaged in flight. A month later, he was in a high-speed car crash. He was also the target of a home invasion where armed intruders broke into a house that he used to own. And he went on to even say, "I think God hates me."
So I would say, okay, this is a situation of where something clearly is a curse. Like when you have this isolated situation that you interact with said object or place, and then all of a sudden all this really bad stuff starts happening to that does not connect to one another and has never happened to you before. Yeah, I would say that's enough to be like, okay, yes, you have a curse. You need to go get yourself cleansed.
So the one thing that's about the dybbuk box that,
if you haven't already,
kind of bothers me, other than like the fact it's in the museum now, the previous owner was this Jason Hexton guy, and I think he's from like England or something like that. He wrote a book and everything on this thing, but like there's no history of this until it's on a random eBay listing, and he bought it on eBay, and that's where the whole thing starts, is from eBay. And I'm not saying there's weird stuff on eBay, because trust me, we know there's plenty of weird shit on eBay.
Stuff on eBay.
But like,
could write a book on how much
I just feel like
stuff on eBay is.
This is known as one of the most cursed things in all of human history. And it was on sale for eBay.
Which, I mean, so I'm not saying it's not cursed. It very well could be cursed, but I agree with you that maybe the story isn't true.
Or maybe it's exaggerated.
But I do see that there's some reality and truth to it by the fact that now modern day people are making these.
Right.
Practicing black magic and making these, and they are...
Well, now there's a bunch of them on eBay.
Right.
Oh my God, you type in dybbuk box on eBay, and it's just like a whole listing of just tons of these things that people are making.
Yeah, and if you open them, there's people that have opened them, and they've had a lot of things happen. I was trying to find the YouTuber that did it, that I was telling you about, but I can't find anywhere anything about it. But he opened one of these, and first, before he opened it, like, he put it over the EMF reader, and every time it got close, like, it went off. And then he opened it, and like all this series of bad things happened to him and kept happening until he had someone come cleanse his home. And then everything went away, and all this really good stuff started happening to him. So I feel like there's also some credibility there as far as, nothing's going on.
Right.
And then I open this box, this bad stuff's happening to me, and it won't stop happening. I come get cleansed, it stops. So I feel like that's a lot of relating back to what I was saying about curses being from energy. If you're practicing black magic and you make one of these and you put your intent and your energy in there and then you seal it, everything's stuck in there. So of course when somebody else opens it, that's going to come out at them.
Speaking of which,
especially if that's your intent, like
right.
when somebody opens this, I just want their life to get completely fucked up. Then that's what's going to happen.
So where I work with people with disabilities. And there's this girl there who has a litany of stuff. I mean, it's just like, I feel bad for her. She also has an extreme case of schizophrenia. So she got mad at one of my coworkers. This happened like 4 or 5 years ago. So this is before I started working there. And she made some kind of box. And she wouldn't let anyone touch it or even go near it. Unless she was designed for my one coworker. Now I was the only person who could open it. And she's like, I'm not touching that thing. One of the other guys who worked there, he was like, well, I'm curious. So he opened it up and it was like all these like random things, like broken glass and dirt and all kinds of stuff. And she's like, she was trying to curse me. They ended up like throwing away the box. But like, no joke. I think that's her. I don't know if she was able to do it, but I think that was definitely her intent. Was trying to curse her because she did not like her at all.
Yeah, I'm surprised that didn't work since the box was open.
Right.
But you almost wonder if it didn't work because the wrong person opened it.
Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, it's this girl.
Or maybe they did it wrong.
This girl has a lot of issues, unfortunately. But yeah. So there is some cursed books. There's the
cursed movies.
Cursed movies as well.
Poltergeist is apparently cursed. The Superman movie is cursed.
Well, let's talk about Poltergeist. It says 4 cast members died during and soon after filming the series. I know the little girl was murdered.
Yeah.
So, and they had problems on the set as well.
Well, let's talk about why the Poltergeist was said to be cursed.
Why was it?
Real cadavers were used as props in various scenes.
Well, that would do it.
I mean, yeah, if I was dead and somebody was like, without my permission, I'd be like, fuck you.
Yeah, so I could see why.
Guess what? You're dead now, too.
Right. And then
if somebody uses your cadaver without your permission.
And then The Exorcist had all kinds of issues. They had a priest come by every 2 weeks to bless the set.
I think there's a lot of reasoning behind it. I think it's, first of all, what you're messing with.
Right.
The whole ideology of what you're messing with.
And on top of that, too,
is you're just opening yourself up to it.
But everyone, like, a couple people got hurt. The main priest, like, he got injured quite a bit during some of the stunts that went wrong. The set burned down. A couple people got sick, like horribly sick. They just got to a point where they had a priest come by every like week or so and bless the set. And then once they started doing that, everything went fine. Cursed books. There's a lot of those.
There is a bunch of those, and I feel like that is probably one of the most
common curses,
and probably one of the most believable situations, because you're taking a lot of information and you're putting it into
one book,
and you're making it into like something that was words and ideas, and now it's a physical thing that you can touch and you can mess with. And I feel like a lot of intention goes into that. I mean, anybody who's any type of writer can tell you that when I'm writing, I'm putting in a lot of emotion and you're putting a lot of yourself into it. So, doing the math, if you write something that's, this is an example of that.
So this is
if you're writing something and it has intent to it that is negative, then that could easily pour into a physical manifestation of the pages. And
so this is the Gygax Codex, known as
was the unexplained.
Yeah, this is
devil in the middle of it.
Yeah, well, that's the most famous page of the entire book.
Right. That's the most famous page of the book because they don't understand why it's there.
Right.
There's no explanation. They're just like, this random devil's like, hey, what's up?
So this is, I forget how many pages.
It's also known as, it's also known as the Book of the Devil or something.
Devil's Bible.
Devil's Bible.
That's what's known as. It's one of the largest books in existence. It's in a museum in Sweden right now, and also it's completely available for free online. You can look through it as a PDF. I've actually looked through it. It's kind of it's a very interesting book. It's massive. That's what it's called, the Gygax Codex. It's like a big book or something.
But
like
here's my thing that I've always noticed. How do we really know he's bad? He doesn't look very unhappy to me, and he doesn't look very angry to me. He looks like he maybe isn't really happy. He might be on a lot of drugs right now, but he's having a good fucking time in his underwear.
So this book is about the size of a table. I mean, I think they said it's like 3.5 feet long or something like that.
Yeah, it definitely takes. I know it definitely takes two people to
lift it.
Not just to lift it, but to turn the page, because somebody has to be on each. One person has to be on each end. 300
and some odd pages, I think they said. All of it's available online to look at. And the craziest part about this whole story is it was supposedly written in one night.
Yep, and it's all by like hand.
So there was
by one person.
So there was
one person did this.
So supposedly there's many stories to this. There's many different stories to the book, but one of the more famous ones is a monk I forget what exactly.
This is the one that I'm the most familiar with.
A monk did something, and he had atoned for his sins, and he was supposed to be executed, and he was locked in his cell for 24 hours. And they told him, okay, you can, if you write a book about like the history of everything, like the history of the world, in like one night, we'll let you go. So they went to go in the next day, and he had written the book, supposedly with the help of the devil.
Should have checked every page.
Yeah, and there's a giant painting of the devil in one of the pages.
Why is his face green?
I don't know.
And he has 2 tongues.
Yeah, but supposedly
I guess why not? Like,
so that's the famous lore. It was written in one day. I mean, that's a legend. I don't, don't. I think it would be almost impossible. It is impossible. There's no way that could be done.
Way
yeah,
that could be done.
It apparently like encompasses all of human history in that book.
There's no way.
So it's like, how the fuck? So I mean, that's the story. That's the legend.
I mean, it's stuff like that when you hear that and you're like, okay, this is obviously impossible. It makes me even more so want to know what the original story is.
Yeah.
Who
right
and why did we just decide like
no probably just
devil?
Some people. Well, if it was anything real, it probably just took someone their lifetime to write it, or took a group of people to do it. But
that's what I've heard is as far as the research that they've done on it, they said it would take
like 2 lifetimes,
right, to have that whole thing done. So like there's even question whether it was really one person,
right,
or multiple people, or like maybe.
I think they said that the handwriting all matches though. That's the weird part. Like all the handwriting is exactly the same throughout the entire book, which is one of the weirdest things about it.
Weird.
Yeah, it's really freaky. So it's really weird. It's one of the strangest things in existence. There is
phone numbers can also be cursed though. That's another.
There's the Bulgarian phone number. Have you ever heard of this one?
No, but remember the time I sat here and looked up phone numbers. One day, Jordan and I were setting up for a recording. I don't remember which episode we were recording, but you were setting up, and I was looking up cursed phone numbers on the internet and calling all of them. Most of them were disconnected. But nothing ever came of any of them. So, I mean, if you ever want a fun activity, Google cursed phone numbers. And
so there is one that's real. It's called the Bulgarian phone number. The phone number is 359-888-888-888. And if you call it, it says this phone number is no longer in use. 3 people, for real, who have all had this number, died. And 2 of them were murdered.
And one died of cancer.
One died of cancer. And the guy who died of cancer, I think he was the original owner of the phone number. And he was the owner of the Bulgarian mobile company. The owner of the Bulgarian mobile company died of cancer. And they said there are rumors, speculation that another organization gave him disease. And that's what killed him. And the 2 other guys, one was a drug kingpin, and he got assassinated. And the other guy was some kind of crime lord, and he also got assassinated while on a date. And all 3 of them had their phone on them at the time of death. So freaky that the company finally just disabled the phone number because all 3 of them died. So this is even lore. This is all legit real. I actually did some research, and yeah, all these 3 people did really exist. It really did happen. And if you talk to the company about it, they say they do not mention private numbers. Let's see. The CEO of Mobitel, Vladimir Grashnov, on the phone number. He died of cancer in 2001. The Daily Mail reported that his cancer was actually caused by a rival phone company using radioactive poisoning. And then a mafia boss was gunned down in 2003 in the Netherlands during a trip inspecting his massive narcotics empire. And then the third one was in 2005, which was in Bulgaria's capital. Let's see, what was he? He was a crooked businessman, and he was murdered while on a date. And his case is still open. And all three of them had their phones on them when they died. Yeah, that one's really weird. So it's not in service anymore.
Obviously.
Right? This one is really weird. Have you heard of the Tamino's Hell poem?
No.
All right, this one's really weird. Okay. Tamino's Hell poem is probably my favorite curse. Because,
you have a favorite curse. You do have a favorite curse.
I'm that type of weird-ass person, right? This is the one that's written by Sajo Yaso. He was a Japanese poet, and this was written in 1919. The poem contains imagery of violent illness, visions of hell, imprisonment, messages of like sadomasochism, a bunch of other lovely, lovely things. Now, where the curse comes in, supposedly if you read the curse out loud,
which you should never do that with any curse.
So if you read the poem out loud, so you can read it to yourself, but if you read it out loud,
but again, that's
cursed.
what they say about a lot of, like, if you read it out loud, then you're speaking it into existence.
Yeah. So if you supposedly read it in its original Japanese native tongue, it curses you even more if you read it in English.
This is one of those moments where I'm really glad I don't, as much as I would like to, I'm really glad that I don't know Japanese.
So, but you can also read it in English. Now, what's great about this one is there's lots of YouTube videos of people actually reading it. And some people say they got sick, some people don't. And it's really funny too if you like watch the like videos, like comment sections, even the people in the comment sections, like, yeah, I read it out loud and stuff.
Which those you can only hold up so much credibility to.
So if you are watching this video on YouTube, we will post the poem, and it's entirely in the description, and you can try this for yourself. Knock yourself out.
Go for it.
It will come with a warning from us, and if you do get cursed, it's on you.
That's on you. That's nothing. You're making that choice. I'm not making you. Jordan's not making you. You're making that choice.
So there's a director who made a film called Pastoral to Die in the Country in 1974, and it's based off the poem, and then he died shortly after the movie was made. A female college student was reportedly died a week after reading the poem to her friends while on a dare. There have been reports and stories of victims feeling mysterious illness, car wrecks, and the feeling of an evil presence lingering around them after reading the poem. However, there are many videos on YouTube of brave folk reading the poem out loud. So it's kind of a here or there what it is. It's super creepy.
Maybe it's just dependent on, like most other things, how much of your emotion belief you put into it as you're reading it. I mean, if somebody picks it up as like, this isn't going to work, and they're just like, whatever. Probably, but if you're picking it up like, this is going to be so bad and something's going to happen to me, and then you've put that out there.
There's a video channel of a guy's, I think his channel's like, Will It Kill Me? And he just tries all this crazy stuff that's supposedly cursed.
And he's still making
videos.
Clearly the answer is no.
So it's like, and I think the video he did for the Tamino's Hell poem is like probably 8 years old or something like that by now, and he's still alive. So, maybe there's nothing to it. But he did read it in English, not Japanese. So there's that. But the original poet was a children's nursery rhymes. That's what he wrote. What is these people who like write children's stories and they're the most like screwed up people? So that is one of my favorite curses, just because it's so crazy and it's really weird.
It has a lot in common with you.
Why's that?
Because you're weird and crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Why did I have to explain that to you?
Right, I guess so.
There's also the belief that people can be cursed. So,
right.
I mean, that's the logic behind the whole burial of King Tut. Was believed that he cursed himself.
Right. There's families are supposedly cursed.
The original owner of the Hope Diamond that we briefly talked about, that's the whole idea behind that, was the reason the diamond's cursed is because she was cursed. Her name is Evelyn Walsh McLean, if anybody wants to look into her. There's like a whole list. There's people that believe that Robert F. Kennedy was cursed.
Well, the Kennedys, that's one of some.
All the Kennedys were cursed.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How families are supposedly cursed. Like there is the Kennedy curse. Yeah, fun
I think we should also think now is also a really good time to discuss the unforgivable curses. Or like the forbidden curses, as they're also.
I thought you meant from Harry Potter.
Well, no, like when I was saying
that's kind of idea.
There's like an example of like I was saying a good example of that is you see this a lot in like movies and TV shows and books, comedies, and like Harry Potter is an example. There's a lot of other like magic related shows and stuff where they'll talk about it's you're not allowed to like perform this is unforgivable or it's forbidden, or like for a really cheesy example in Aladdin, the genie's like, you can't wish for this and this and this.
Oh yeah.
And those are all things that trail back to like magic that you're not supposed to do.
Like
you're not supposed to like, yeah, exactly. You're not supposed to raise anybody from the dead. You're not supposed to kill anybody. You're not supposed to like make anybody fall in love with you because it's, it goes against other people's free will. You're not allowed to cut off someone else's life. That's not a power that you're supposed to be able to have. And this is, of course, you really shouldn't go like physically murder anybody, but they're just referring to like you can't sit down and create a curse to kill somebody else, like because tenfold comes back on you, and well, you're going to be in trouble then. And obviously, reason why you shouldn't raise anybody from the dead, I feel like that's very self-explanatory. Like you just really, there's a lot of movies and TV shows on why you shouldn't do that, and
there's one place that we actually went to was the kind of going a little bit different from what you were just talking about, but the Hazaret angel, the angel of death, or Victorious in Cleveland, which is at the Lakewood Cemetery. And if you've never seen it, it's a very large statue of an angel, and it looks like it's crying because it's made out of bronze. In the way it's been rusting, it looks like it's like weeping. And supposedly it's like that is heavily cursed.
So one of the big things they say you're not supposed to do is you're not supposed to kiss her on the mouth.
Right. Because what happens?
You die.
Yeah.
Jordan and I were there, and we took video and pictures, but we both left offering. I don't know about you, but before I did, I personally said, hey, I'm going to take a picture of you now.
Yeah.
I hope that's okay. And then I left. I just so happened to have this like really fancy hair clip in my purse that I left there.
Yep. There was like a hodgepodge of the most random offerings I've ever seen for anything. It was like bus tickets.
Well, it's
like
probably
lighters.
People were probably doing what we were doing and just grabbing whatever they had.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the most craziest altar I've ever seen of the most random array of shit.
And I will say, like, standing in front of it is very, like...
It's extremely intimidating.
I was just going to... That's the exact word.
Massive.
The exact word I was going to look. It's very intimidating. It's not just the size of it, but it's, like, the facial expression. And, like, the eyes are very empty. And it's very intimidating. Like, I could see...
Just, like, once you see it, it's... Wow. It's pretty massive.
I have additional information about it, though. The statue itself was not erected by anyone in the family.
Okay.
It was erected by a woman named Teresa. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the last name right, but it's Feldervert, I think. It looks like her son died and she married someone. I don't know how all that relates to the angel, but she erected it. Okay, so apparently her son, I don't know, he's not related to that family. Okay. Apparently he's buried over there and she erected it for her son.
Okay.
I don't know if he was there first and he was moved or what happened, but that's why it's
just a
for
massive
her son.
Gravestone.
And her son died when he was 18, so he died tragically.
Wow.
It seems like. So that's apparently why, but apparently every year on Halloween, the legend is, and her eyes are dark. You'll see that her eyes are dark. The legend says every year on Halloween they darken even more.
And don't kiss her on the lips.
Don't kiss her on the lips.
Cursed.
Somebody's going to go kiss her on the lips.
Oh, no, people already have. I think there's even, if you look it up online, I think there's even photos of people.
And you're not supposed to touch your eyes either, or you'll get a disease.
I don't think when we went there,
die.
I don't think I touched it.
Incurable disease. Oh, no. I
don't
even think I touched it when I put my, like...
I think I put a button or something on it. I was just like, okay. Yeah.
So specifically, if you kiss her on the lips, your heart will stop beating and you will die instantly.
Okay, I don't believe that.
Anyone who attempts to destroy the statue will also be instantly killed.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's also, in addition,
dying.
there are many stories of people who touched the angel and subsequently died a terrible death.
Yeah, I didn't touch it.
I didn't touch it.
Yeah, I got a lot of video of it. But.
She's very creepy, though. She does have... she's like on a badass throne, though, too. I feel like that's part of the reason it's very intimidating.
She's sitting on a chair, so it's this major, damn huge statue. So that's one we actually got to see in person.
But I will say, as far as curses go, I think whether or not you believe in curses in general or a specific curse, it's important, just as like with any belief, that you treat that with respect. Even if you don't believe it,
right?
You know, just because I don't believe that a dybbuk dox is going to curse me, I'm going to open it. If you mess with it, even if you don't believe with it, and someone else put intent to it that was negative, that can backfire on you. And there's people, I'm saying that because there's people out there that think if I don't believe in it, nothing can happen to me.
Right.
And that's not necessarily true. If someone put enough intent to it, enough energy into it, and then you come along and mess with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Having said all that, if you have any cursed items and you want to send it to our way, we have a friend who would love to hold on to it and experience with it.
Hi, Randy.
And who will come on our show and talk about it. So we have a friend who's crazy enough to hold on to haunted and cursed items. Right? Hey, he even said himself, he's like, hey, bring it my way and I'll see what happens.
Yeah. So even if it's just for kicks and giggles,
we will gladly accept your cursed things.
Even if you want to try and make something cursed, see if it works.
Yeah. Are we really encouraging people to make a curse?
No,
I don't think we should.
No.
Please don't.
Please don't. Especially since if you don't know what you're doing, then you could just hurt yourself or people close to you. So I wouldn't recommend it. And even if you know what you're doing, you still probably shouldn't be doing that because that's just an a-hole move.
Right. I had my own weird personal experience. This started happening, oh my God, like over 20 years ago, about 20 years ago. So it was like, I was really young. But, so my friends and I were driving. We're listening to Social Distortion's song "Bad Luck," and it's just like it starts.
I don't
off,
like that song. That's probably why.
Well, it's Social Distortion too, so it's kind of boring. Yeah,
everything's.
Yeah, so we're listening to the song "Bad Luck," and it's like starts off like 13's my lucky number and all this other crap, and it's just listing off all these like really really bad luck things. My friends and I are driving along the freeway, and we're like, oh, he's like, my friend's like making fun of me. He's like, no, we're listening to like the most depressing song for one of the most depressing bands. And I was like, it's fine. Like, what's going to happen? And then like literally like a couple minutes, not even after that, like really right after that, I blew a tire on the freeway. And we were stranded for like an hour and a half because I didn't have a replacement. A song came on again a little bit later after that, like, and then my car died again. So I've now had 2 car problems with that song. I was at a show tuning up my bass, and the song played, and I was like, oh shit, and literally I blew a string on my bass, which I never do. Later on, I had my car die again. I got injured when the song started playing, so I was just like, fuck this song.
Do you wonder, too, if like it maybe got to the point, too, that you were like feeding it because you were just like knew?
That could have been it. Maybe it was just my own
because they say
it's
that like
yes,
it can happen, and then like the reason it survives and thrives is because then you feed into it.
So this song has like been my like, oh my God, I like for years I was just terrified of this fucking song. Anytime I play it, I'd be like running for cover. And so this went on for like 10 years. Every time somebody would play it, something bad would happen. And then like finally I remember I was like I just moved into a new apartment. I had like my like Pandora on. This is like before Spotify, and it was like back on just a regular radio station. The song came on. I was like, oh, fuck, whatever. Nothing bad happened. And then like ever since then, I would hear the song occasionally, and like nothing bad happens when I hear it. But to this day, I still like.
You're just like, I don't
really listen to Social Distortion that much anymore anyway. But it's like I don't go out of my way to listen to that
probably a
song.
good decision.
like I pretty much like do not listen to that song at all.
Sorry, I'm just not a Social Distortion fan.
It's fine.
His voice bores me.
They're kind of hit or miss with a lot of people, but
yeah, nothing personal about Social Distortion. It's just it doesn't do it for me.
I was really into them, not so much anymore, but like when I was younger. But yeah, that song for whatever fucking reason it was just like every time it played, like something terrible would happen. So not like life tragedy terrible, but you know, getting in the way type terrible. But yeah, so that's one of those things that I do not mess with. I don't know.
But you know, on the other end of the spectrum, you can have items that are cursed. You can also have items that are blessed. So,
yes, totally. You can have things that are like every time.
Which, for clarification, I believe is vastly different than luck. Just because I feel like there's going to be that one person out there that's going to be like, but you said you didn't believe in luck. Well, that's not the same thing. So.
Having said all that, if you yourself have any experiences with curses, you know, you can always contact us at info@thespookydoor.com. You can hit us up on social media on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We also now have merch. You can get that at thespookydoor.com. You can also buy us a cup of coffee on our website. That's just to help support the show, which we thank very much.
You can also reach out to us on our Facebook and Instagram via messaging, though. Not a lot of people think about that, but we're pretty good about getting back to you. If you just have a story you want to tell us, we might not get back right away, but we'll get back to you.
Right.
We're good about that.
We, of course, now also have the YouTube channel, so you can leave a comment below if you're listening. If you're watching the YouTube video, thank you so much.
Thanks. Even if you're listening, thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Also, if you listen on iTunes, please feel free to give us a rating. Tell us what you think.
Hey, we recently got our first 1-star rating, and it's like, oh, we finally made it.
Right. Tell us what you think.
Right.
But if you are going to give us a 1-star rating, tell us what you don't like.
Yes.
We'll work on it. That was my pet peeve with that. They didn't tell us what they didn't like. They just were like, I don't like you. Or if you are, you know, our YouTube, subscribe, hit the like button. You can leave us a little comment too. Again, we will respond to you.
If you're just listening to this, once again, thank you so much for being a listener. And journey with us next time through the Spooky Door.